There are three sorts of menu which you'll come across in Android development. There's options menus, action bars, there are context menus, and there are pop-up menus. We're not going to talk about pop-up menus, but I will talk about the options and context menus. Both sorts of menus are created in exactly the same way. We build our menu structure using an XML file. In the res folder, you'll see a folder called menu. This folder contains each of our menu structures. You must make sure that each file has a clear name which describes its usage. So here's a simple example of a menu file. You can see that there's a menu tag containing a series of item tags. And each item tag has to have an ID and title property. The ID is the identifier we're going to use to identify which menu item has been chosen. And the title is the text title that appears on that menu item. There's also an option of adding icons to your menus. And also there's a special method called show as action, which defines whether the menu appears as a button or a menu, which we'll talk about later. An options menu is a collection of menu items for an activity. It's where you place actions that have a global impact on your application. And items from the options menu are presented as a combination of on-screen action buttons and options that overflow into a menu. And you can see an example here. So in this menu there were 6 items: phone, computer, gamepad, camera, video and email. Some appear as action bar buttons and some appear as menu items. And that's determined by the show as action attribute in the menu. The options are always, never and if room. And if room will place it as a button if you're on a large device like a tablet, but if space is tight it will turn it into a menu item for you. So to create the menu we call a method called onCreateOptionsMenu. And when you create a new activity, this is already created for you. And to respond to menu clicks, there's a special method called onOptionsItemSelected. And we can check the item ID, and depending on what the item ID is from the menu, we can trigger different actions. A context menu is a modal window that pops up on the middle of the screen when the user presses and holds on a particular widget on the screen. We can use this, for example, to implement a delete option if you had a list of items. To do this, we have to register the control. And we call a method called register for context menu, and we pass it the name of our control. And as soon as we've done that, it will trigger a method called onCreateContextMenu, which we also have to write. And we can identify which control's been triggered and create the appropriate menu. So this is very simple to implement menus in Android.